Anthony here, based in Paris. We wanted to introduce you a new webinar today and how to interface your cloud with the Sigfox cloud and what are the best methods to do so. So we wanted to explain to you through this webinar. So I'm not going to be the one to do the presentation. In the room with me is Axel. He will take the speech just after. So he will be the one introducing you to this interfacing with the Sigfox cloud. Just as an introduction, general introduction, to say that this kind of webinar are run every month usually. If you already registered to a Sigfox webinar, you will receive every single new ones that we do. They are on topics like the cloud, the device, antennas, or whatsoever. Every single new technology that we think is interesting to you, we actually will run a webinar about it, and it's going to be every month. So just for the one for today, the webinar will be run in two parts. The first part will be an introduction and presentation from Axel in a couple of seconds, and we will do a round of questions afterwards. So it should be 30 minutes for the presentation and 30 minutes for question and answers. So if you have a question at any moment in the presentation, please feel free to ask it in the question section in your app. It's on the bottom right of the application. You have a question part. You can type a question, and as a moderator, I will see it, and I will pass it through Axel at the end of the webinar. So that's how we'll do it. So don't worry if we don't stop to answer your question in the middle. It's on purpose. We'll actually answer all the questions at the end, and we have 30 minutes. So it should be okay. So now we're ready to start. So I'm going to end I'm going to pass the end to Axel here in the room with me, and so hope you actually enjoy it, and yeah, have a good webinar.
So hello everybody, thank you Anthony, I'm pretty happy to be here. My name is Axel Bandré. I'm working as a client solutions engineer for Sigfox. And I was previously a software cloud engineer for Sigfox in Labège. So I'm pretty happy to run this webinar today, and let's go. So here is the plan. We'll first go through the Sigfox cloud interfaces. So first the callbacks, APIs, some tips about the downlink, where to find the key resources and documentation for it. And then I wanted to show some use cases that are leveraging the cloud integration. So we'll go through some of them. And then, as Anthony said, we'll have a Q&A session. So as a reminder, here is the life cycle of a Sigfox message. So as you know, objects will transmit messages that will go through the radio interface. Then our base stations worldwide will pick up those messages and push them to the Sigfox cloud. So the subject of today's webinar is then how you can interact with this data into Sigfox cloud and how to use it to build your platforms and use it into your IT systems. So here we go. The free Sigfox cloud interfaces. The first one, maybe the most new one, is the web portal. So it is accessible through any web browser on backend.sigfox.com. It is designed for any human to interact with Sigfox cloud. Then the second one is through APIs. So almost any feature that is available in the Sigfox backend can be done in a programmatically way with APIs. Those are perfect to integrate some of the Sigfox cloud features into third-party platforms. However, since they are since it's a mechanism in pull mode, as you know, they are not the best way to, for example, get message data, message payloads to your platforms. Actually, since this would require so much consuming on the platform side and on Sigfox Cloud side to get access to instantaneous events such as like device messages or alarms, alerts. It is better to use the callback mode. Those one are using a push mechanism. So here we start with the callbacks. So here are the different callbacks. So there are two types of callbacks. The first are the built-in callbacks. Those ones have been developed by backend team to support some well-known IoT platforms, I would say. So AWS IoT, for example, or Microsoft Azure, IBM Watson as well. Then the most used one are the custom callbacks. So those one are the one you can configure on the backend or set up through API, for example, to get continuous data from your devices into your platform. You have different types of uplink callback. For example, you have the data one. This one is declined into two types. The first uplink only, and the second one is bidirectional. You will see after what's happening on the downlink side. Then you have the service callbacks, including status, acknowledge, repeater, and the data advanced callback, which carry, I would say, like all the metadata and I would say valuable information about or added value information about the message. And then you have the error callback. What about the medium? So there are two mediums for the callback. The first one is email, not so much used. The second one, and the best to use, is it's through HTTP. So basically, a callback is a simple HTTP request that can be implemented. So that's like the easiest way to interact with the backend for instantaneous push messages. So regarding callbacks, I wanted to show where I'm going to when I need some documentation. So so you can use it as well. So to get access to all of those, like which fields are used in the callbacks, which one are not, what a field means, and so on and so on. I'm always referring to this page. We'll be able to go there after. And here I have an example of data advanced callback to demonstrate. Here is Atlas Wi-Fi mechanism as well. So what you have to know is that once you will configure a data advanced callback, if your device is compliant with Atlas Wi-Fi requirements, then Sigfox backend will push along with the payload information the location of your device. Here is the mechanism. So as I said, the MAC address are sent to the Sigfox Cloud. Then the Sigfox Cloud is requesting a location to our partner, and then a location plus a radius is pushed within this data advanced callback, so within this HTTP request up to your IT platform. What is great with this feature is that a fallback is available on Atlas Native, meaning that if Sigfox backend has detected that the message is not located in like as our partner would have located it, it can send the fallback, so it can detect error basically. I've put here a very basic JSON body of data advanced callback. So basically just device ID, the time, the sequence number, and here is the particular field that is pushed in this callback is computed location. So you have the latitude, longitude sent by the partner, the radius, and a source and a status. So these fields are explained in the documentation. It's either if the location is computed through our Wi-Fi geolocation provider, or if it's through GPS, or if it's through Atlas Native, which is the triangulation of Sigfox antennas, and then the status. Let's then go into APIs. So again, our APIs are built in a RESTful way. I mean, they are compliant with the RESTful standards. APIs and especially API v2 are designed with the latest industry standards. They are always using HTTPS authentication depending on the user rights. So that's why you, before using any API, you need to create an API access depending on the group you want to retrieve the data. This is done on the backend. I can show it after if needed, but I think most of you know how to do it. And then with this API access, you will be able to call Sigfox APIs. Something great is that we'll see that after, but the YAML documentation is also available for those APIs, which means that you can, through some tools such as Swagger, you can like extract exactly the API scope of use for your user rights. So you don't spend time on knowing which API you can call and which one you cannot. Today is also, not today, but this month is also the release of the API v2 general availability. So I've put here some improvements that we've done on this API set. That's it. So then let's check a little bit the timeline. So API v1 is now deprecated and will be at end of life at April 2020, which means that every customer has to move to API v2 before this date. The sooner the better. And then we are also moving some, so uplink data callback is not changing. But then we are now using the data advanced callback to embed each and every added value data that was pushed before, for example, in the geolog callback or duplicate data callback. So those two callbacks will be terminated as well in April 2020. So you need to migrate to data advanced callback. We'll be able to talk a little bit more about this timeline in the Q&A if needed. Regarding key resources, I was talking about it before. I'm always using the support.sigfox.com/API docs for getting the correct documentation. And I've also extracted the documentation corresponding to my user rights with the Swagger tool. So I encourage you to do so. Something we need to talk about is the API rate limiting. This has been implemented along with the general availability of API v2. This will affect either API v1 and API v2. This is a standard of the industry, meaning that each and every software provider or API provider is implementing today some API rate limiting. At the beginning, we were not so keen on restricting the usage of APIs, but today, since the number of requests is increasing a lot, so we need to put some limits. And those limits are set for customers, but also for Sigfox operators and either for Sigfox Corp users, such as me. So yeah, it is like this. It is actually fair. The only endpoint that has been restricted today here is messages and devices, so 2 endpoints. For one request every second for the messages and one request every 60 minutes for the devices. You will get an HTTP 429 if you do too many requests. Also, a time limit of 3 days of messages has been implemented in the API v2. Need to check internally because I'm thinking it's a little bit rush. It's a little bit, it's not so much, but I mean, since we should implement like callbacks to get messages, it's fair, I think. Let's go into Downlink now. So if you are a platform maker, you need to get a good understanding of how Downlink works in Sigfox and how to be compliant with the Sigfox Cloud time window. Basically, it's the only restriction. So here I've put a sequence diagram of a basic downlink sequence. So the device is sending the downlink requests that is received by the base stations. Then the base station will push it to the backend. At this time, it will trigger the bidirectional callback. So to trigger this bidirectional callback, you need first to have configured on the device side level, on the device type level, the callback into the downlink data into callback mode, and then to enable the selected BDR callback as I've shown here. So once you've done this, the BDR callback will be triggered each time the device sends a downlink request. Then at this time, your platform has to reply into like a 10-second time window, which is largely enough for a software to answer. It has to reply to this HTTP request. I've put here the syntax. So you have to replace the device ID by the right device ID, and then you put the hexadecimal data, the 8 bytes, so 16 hexadecimal characters here to be pushed to Sigfox backend. Once it's done, okay, so Sigfox backend will aggregate all the downlink message that needs to be pushed into a certain area, send the matrix to the base station, and then the base station will transmit to the device. Depending on the device, it will trigger what we call an out-of-band message, an acknowledgement message, to effectively say, okay, I have received the downlink message, and as before, we can check this during the Q&A. It's basically it can be triggered by a service callback, for example. So let's go here. I've put like a basic example of a platform and which mechanism this platform should use to interact with Sigfox backend regarding what the platform needs. So for sure, you will need a storage for your platform. Maybe the first thing to implement is to put some callbacks between the backend and your platform in order to get a continuous delivery of events regarding the messages of your devices, some alerts regarding activation, registration, for example. Then to add some value on top of that, you are able to use Sigfox APIs this time to implement some basic Sigfox Cloud features into your platform. So your customers will be able to call those features through the API. Let's say you want to manage the subscription of your devices, you want to manage some part of your individual or a specific group, subgroup, fleet of devices. You can then use the APIs. Device management can also be achieved through the downlink callback. That's why I've put this block into the blue color as well. Then you will definitely need some processing, which will be different depending on the use case you are addressing, actually. So that's why This is most of the time specific to the business case. Let's say you have an asset tracking platform. You won't do the same as a smart water metering platform, let's say. And then you have also the data visualization layer to be able to check this data. I hope those information were enough for, I mean, to get a good understanding of callbacks and APIs and interface with Sigfox backend. We'll go now into some use cases that I have found relevant here to highlight how you can bring value to certain use cases through the cloud integration. And yeah, we'll start with Nano-like. So this one is basically answering the fact that you need to know the level of a product into tanks, and so they have designed a device that is addressing this issue, and the device is sending the exact level of product into the tank. This is already something very great, actually, but what is actually even better is that they have implemented as well with a partner and what they call a tailored add-on that is integrated into their platform. So once the IBC or once the tank is almost empty, the device will send an alert, and then if agreed, the customer will have an automatic reordering and even reshipping of the solution to the right address, to the right spot. So that allows to get like a full automated solution from device to cloud. So I found it pretty interesting, and well done, Nano-like, for this. The second one we are seeing now is about integrating blockchain usages with IoT. This has been done, for example, with La Parisienne Assurance and Sigfox France, sorry. Or also with thethings.io. It's basically some of those new insurance 4.0 use cases that we've now seen is that you are now able to show a complete visibility of the chain to the customers using blockchain technology, which means, so I've very encourage you to check those links because it's really interesting work. It's basically adding transparency to customers. Then the third one is something I've personally worked on. Maybe because of this I've put this here, but it's linked to the Google Cloud usage. So as you might be aware, Google has developed a specific way to integrate with Sigfox backend. So they are using actually the custom callback, like everybody. And those callback, for example, the uplink one, is triggering some cloud function into Google Cloud. And once this cloud function is triggered, it is then possible to basically use each and every Google Cloud service. So for example, publish into a cloud PubSub broker, or push this into BigQuery, Bigtable, and so on and so on. Use the data into cloud machine learning. So it's pretty interesting and pretty straightforward. Like the integration can be done in like 1 hour. I've tested it. That's why to highlight this integration, we've done a pretty interesting work with that. We've tried to integrate Google like Sigfox with Google Assistant, meaning that can I request to Google Assistant a data that is coming from a Sigfox device? Answer is yes. If you have previously connected it, for sure, but of course, but yeah. So that makes some pretty interesting use cases, maybe for the smart home. We'll see it in the future. And yeah, then I found it pretty interesting to put it in the presentation is kind of what would be the most basic implementation of an IoT platform, of a platform that would be integrated with Sigfox. So you can access to the code on GitHub. The link is here. So it's basically just a JavaScript file with one endpoint. This endpoint is able to receive data from post requests. Then the application is just basically parsing the information and then just storing it into a simple SQL database, like the most simple one. And then the endpoint has a second function through the verb get. So once you request through a web browser or any front end, once you request this endpoint, you are able to see the data that has been pushed into the database. So in my opinion, one of the most basic implementation possible of a platform integrated with Sigfox. So you can have a check as well on this one. I've deployed it on Heroku, so that's free and it's great to understand the integration. Yep, that's pretty much it. So thank you very much for listening. I would like to get any comments, or we'll talk during the Q&A session. But if you prefer to send email, here it is. You can send me an email. I will be happy to answer. I don't know if it's been okay. I think we can jump into the Q&A session. Okay.
Okay, so it's Antonio again. Thanks, Axel. So just to add something to what Axel just said is that there is one slide missing. Is what about coming in the future? So we don't have a slide about it, but we wanted to make it a bit of a teaser for you. So what's coming in the next couple of months, and we don't have a definitive date yet, but we are working on a way for everybody in the world to be able to try Sigfox without having any device, at home. Meaning that you will be able to, go on a demo backend, a sandbox, where you will be able to generate fake messages from fake IDs and fake devices in order to try all your integrations to your platforms, etc. And so, this is going to be like a very, very, very interesting to use, because as of today, you need hardware to use the Sigfox platform, etc. And so in the future, we'll be allowing everybody from anywhere to create an account automatically from anywhere and try the Sigfox backend with like fake device, just try the implementation, callback APIs whatsoever. So this thing will be coming in the next year for sure. We don't have a definitive date yet, but just for you to know, I know a lot of people is requesting it, because for people who don't have Sigfox network on yet, it can be frustrating. So just for you to know, it's coming. We will listen to you, and yeah, the link will come next year. So we can actually jump to the first question, which is from Nicholas. So is there a way to trigger an HTTPS callback to secure an SSL transmission? So it's about security and HTTPS.
Okay, so about HTTPS with callbacks. So so what's happening exactly? If you configure a callback in HTTPS mode, Sigfox backend will be able to deliver this callback only if the end platform has like an SSL certificate, but not every SSL certificate, only certificates that are not self-signed. So as you know, how it works, like the certification of a platform is done through a certification authority, and for self-signed certificate, we don't deliver the callback. Then there is a fail. So I'm not sure to understand exactly the question. Is there a way to generate a certificate to trigger a callback? I would say yes. I would say yes. You can trigger an HTTPS callback. Yes, you can. But be aware that you have to have then a platform with a certificate that is not self-signed, actually.
Thanks. So second question was about where to get information about the API. So you gave it in your speech, and I sent URL to the guys. Okay. The first question is, what does time limit of 3 days of messages actually mean?
All right, that's a good question. So I'm not 100% sure here. I think that what is going to happen is that you can find those information, by the way, on build.sigfox.com. Changes in REST API v2. Let's see. So here are the two bullet points interesting here. So with the general availability of API v2, we are limiting the usage, as I've said before, with a rate limiting per endpoint. But we are also putting a limit of the number of the amount of message that can be retrieved, and it will be 3 days of history. I think that has been set. I mean, it has been set on purpose. I'm not sure exactly why 3 days, but this is something that can be checked internally. But yeah, we are limiting the number of messages that can be retrieved to 3 days in order to guarantee the scalability of Sigfox Cloud, the same reasons with the rate limiting applied on the APIs.
Thanks. So the next question is, can I extract data from Sigfox directly using scripts in order to bypass the use of a platform and save data directly to a database?
So great question again. Yes, you can. So to extract data, it depends the data again. So if it's some messages coming from devices, again, the best way is to use callbacks. But for kind of every administrative tasks, as explained during the webinar, it is better to use APIs. And then, yes, you can implement some basic scripting using, for example, Python scripts to request APIs, Sigfox APIs. This is done, for example, with the global coverage API. For example, if you need to access to coverage information for a certain batch of locations, the best way to do it would be to request this API, the coverage API here, with your batch of location through, let's say, a simple Python script that will then store the coverage information into an Excel spreadsheet, let's say. Yes, so yes, that is possible.
Thanks, Axel. So the next question is, how do I handle downlink downlinks with the Azure and AWS standard callbacks?
So, okay, so that's a good question again. Today, the information I have is that some of the built-in callbacks, like AWS and Azure, are not available for downlink. I think we have a status in build again. I know that there are actually currently some plans with Microsoft to implement new documentation, and so it is already available. I think if Azure with two wins one of the two built-in callbacks, so the Azure Event Hub, I think, for AWS. So here it is. Yeah, here it is. So today only Microsoft Azure IoT Hub. No, so it's not Event, it's IoT Hub. Is available for downlink, not available on AWS IoT. So today it's not possible, unfortunately. I would encourage to use AWS still, but like not to use AWS IoT in that case if you need downlink. And then yes, we are trying to work along with AWS to get this feature available.
Okay, thanks. So the next three questions were exactly the same from three different people. Is that when will the Sigfox sandbox be available? Again, this is just a small teaser, so we don't have a definitive date yet because just we don't have it. So I'm not gonna pretend we have one. We are working on it to make it available as soon as possible. If you want to try it, you contact your sales, the Sigfox sales locally. We do already have what we call the backend demo for specific requests and specific integration requests. So it's already up and running. So if you want to try it, you can try to contact your local sales guy, and he can request an access for you for sure. But the global availability for everybody completely automatically. The availability date, we don't have it yet, but that's the plan to have it next year. So the next question, which was not really related to demo backend, was could you please elaborate on the downlink messaging, actual use case of downlink messages, an example of a downlink message, etc.
Yes. Okay, let's go on the relative slide. So downlink can be used for many purposes. Okay, so I'd say that the first one is to basically be able to reconfigure a device from the cloud. It's kind of like it's the most valuable thing you can do with a downlink. That's pretty much it. You can use it as also, so yeah, for example, you can change the, you have many steps that you can do with downlink. First, let's say you don't want to reflash the device, the firmware of the device, with a different firmware, or you cannot do it because devices are on the field. Then you will be able to reconfigure the device through a downlink message. For example, the frequency of the uplink of this device. If you suspect that the battery is decreasing too quickly, you will be able to do it. Or yeah, basically to change the behavior to adapt your device to what is going on the field actually. So I would say that's the most valuable thing you can do with a downlink. Second would be to be sure that your device is under cover. I mean, that your device has coverage. Like if the device does not get the downlink from the backend, it means the uplink wasn't received. So you are able to understand sometimes if you are out of coverage with this feature. So yeah, device configuration, coverage sometimes. Yeah, acknowledgement. I would say it's a good feature. It's basically the value of having a bidirectional communication between a device and a platform.
Thanks. And so one comment was, okay, just they were saying that they don't need the platform to know when the door is accessible. Okay, great. And so the last question, can't we still start communication from Downlink? So the question, I guess, is can you ping a device which is already on the field, etc. And so just for people to know, as of today on the Sigfox network, a downlink message is always requested from the device first. So the device on the field has to do an uplink first, requesting for a downlink for the downlink to happen. You can't really ping a device whenever you want, etc. So that's why Sigfox is not really tailored or optimized for use case where you have to ping a device on the field without having the device which is on already. So I guess I think I already answered the question. So no, as of today, I'm sorry, Wataru, you still can't use downlink to ping a device on the field as when you want. What you need to do is really having the device to do regular uplinks, maybe every hour, maybe every 4 hours, maybe every 10 minutes if you want, asking the server, do you have any update for me? Do you have any update for me? And then the server will actually answer with a downlink if there is an update to do. So that's, as of today, still the way to work. It might change in the future. Sigfox is always updated, etc. But as of today, it's the most usual, let's say, logical way to work, as your device is actually not awake for 99% of the time, which is saving a lot of battery. So maybe in the future it will change, but for now, it's still you still need to do an uplink first. So so the last question we have is, do you test downlink on AWS using Lambda?
Do you test downlink using a Lambda on AWS? Not really, because actually, with the current implementation of AWS built-in callback, since downlink is not available, we don't do like this. However, if you are talking about using Lambda to trigger a to answer to a downlink message, I'd say yes, it's possible. Yes, it's possible, depending on the use case. But I would say yes, it's possible to use a Lambda service to answer to a downlink callback.
So the next question is about configuring Azure IoT Hub, callback in Sigfox demo, etc. So the question is from Yana Sankar. So that will answer you directly through email because it's a long question. So I prefer to send you the tailored answer to you. I'm not sure this is a very particular use case. It's going to be useful for everybody. It's more like a support request. So for sure, Yana Sankar will actually answer to you. So I think we still have some time for a couple of questions. And the last one I have is, how do I automatically configure the callback when registering a device for mass production? I don't want to set up the payload string on Sigfox on each Sigfox device. User must register the device on the mobile app, etc. So the question is really, how do you register the device when you're actually going for mass prod?
That is a good question. If you are on the mass prod phase, it means you are already in a good spot. So well done. For registering devices for mass production, you can use APIs. So again, with what is described in the documentation, maybe if it's the first time, I would recommend first to do this through the web portal, so through Sigfox backend web portal, through the device registration button here. You use the new series and then you upload, let's say you choose this one. You upload a list of identifier like this, following this syntax. But yeah, then if you want to make available the mass production device registration onto your platform using Sigfox APIs, then you can for sure do it to be honest, I have never done it before, but you can check the documentation, and I would say it's registration of a device, of a new device, and I think it's the same. I think you have to upload in the JSON body the same syntax, meaning the ID, the pack of the devices within the JSON payload body. Sorry.
Yeah, and just what Axel said is that it's really up to you and how you do your production. Actually, some people do it directly on the line, meaning that they have a script that reads the ID and the pack of the module directly on the production line, and so we have a script which automatically send a request to the Sigfox backend to automatically register it. And just for you to know, so the device will be registered, so it's ready to emit, but the contract, you know, the Sigfox token will not be consumed until the device sends its first real message. So people actually do it, you know, like in production, they read the ID and pack from the device, they register it automatically through a script at the end of the production line, and they put it in a box, and it's ready to go. And when the customer will open it and try to send its first message, then it can be months after, the Sigfox contract will be up and running. So that's an example. People, as Axel said, some people do it with, you know, in a manual import. It's very up to you, but just for you to know, you have an automatic way, a manual way. It's you know, up to what you decide for your production. So again, last question I had is, can we disable the device and enable it again in Sigfox backend using an API in case we want to cut messages service for a remote device?
So yes, you can do it. You can you are able through either web portal and Sigfox APIs to deactivate and reactivate a device subscription. It is actually possible. The only thing I'm not sure about this is that I think it will reconsume a new token once you ask for the reactivation of the device. Actually, it's not putting the device in a pending mode, it's just burning the token, okay? And if you want to reactivate it, it's gonna reuse a token from your contract, your related to contract. So that might not be the, if you plan to reactivate the device, it's not maybe a good way to proceed.
Yeah, and again, to add something here is that the business model of Sigfox is not to do, as of today, you know, to allow you to stop like your contract for 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months. You actually engage yourself for 1 year, and then you pay for 1 year and you use it for 1 year. If you stop using it, for example, if your device is seasonal, so you stop it in winter, for example, for swimming pool monitoring, then your contract is still going on. So that's not really a technical question; it's more a business reason. Is that we don't really allow to stop and go because, you know, it would actually create a mess in the registering service, etc. What you could look at is, I think, I don't know if it's, I think it's public yet. We are working on you know, single use and you know, subscription services. So that might be, for example, if you use a device a couple of times in the year, you could actually buy this one-time prepay, you know, one-time messages and use this kind of stuff instead of using every time, as Axel said, yearly subscription, which costs, of course, a year. So that might be the trick to use. And I think actually that was the last question, so with perfect timing. So thanks, Axel, again. Just for you to know, you will all receive the slides by email. You know, I guess so as soon as tomorrow, if I you know, I will find the time to do it. So don't request them; you will actually receive all of them. And so, you know, you will automatically receive the next webinars in your inbox when we actually run it, and we'll actually run some in the near future. So thanks again. If you want to join us in the discussion, you can feel free to come on the Sigfox Slack, you know, the Sigfox Builder Slack community. You can find the link on Build, and we actually are always there to talk and answer your questions. So yeah, thanks again. Thanks, Axel, and I hope to see you next time.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Anthony. Bye.